Michael McQueen, welcome to 5 Minutes with O.
Thank you.
Now, Gen Y and generations, we know it's a really hot topic at the moment. It's a big issue, but is there more to it than just about engaging Gen Y?
Absolutely. And I think one of the drawbacks is in the last few years we've had such a focus on Gen Y. We've overlooked that they're just one generation of 5 or 6 that are operating in most organisations, most families. And so whilst they're a challenging group to engage, and we've had to engage them because pre to the GFC we had skills shortages and war for talent and low unemployment figures, they are only one group. And so it's a much broader issue than just them.
But also that's who we're recruiting a lot of the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're the ones who are coming through, and they have very different attitudes and can be very frustrating to work with. So they have caused a real stir.
Well, not if you're one of them.
Well, that's right.
So, really we're looking at generational trends. Tell us, what's coming up on the globe for generations?
If we look from, I guess, a demographic point of view at the younger end of the scale, even though we've talked heaps about Gen Y, they actually really haven't made their presence known fully yet. At the moment, Gen Y would only be between 14 and 15% of the workplace. Okay. So they're only still quite a small group, really, even though they're causing a real stir. If you fast forward to, say, 2020, they're expected to be 42% of the workplace. And so they'll cause much more angst, frustration, certainly more opportunities because there's lots of positive things with Gen Y too, but they're going to be much more of the employment mix. And then after them, looking even younger still, you've got Gen Z, and they're described as being like Gen Y but on steroids. And they're
so
the
Gen
ones,
Y will have their own problems.
Well, they will. They won't be the youngest ones anymore, but Gen Z will be in their first jobs in about 4 years. And so they'll be very interesting to watch. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got baby boomers who are going to start to retire. And that trend is going to be really significant because unless that transition's managed well, lots of tacit knowledge, wisdom, a lot of the stuff that boomers have gained over their careers is going to be lost. And so the issue of succession planning, generational transition, that is so key. And that's been a lot of my work with clients is sort of how to manage that transition well for the whole organisation.
There are a number of aspects we need to consider with the generations. What do you see as some of the key ones?
I think there's probably 2 to really be aware of for most organisations. The first would be the internal aspect. So how do you manage a multi-generational team? And it's a bit similar to the challenge of managing a multicultural team. So not just looking at symptoms, how different groups appear to be or what their behaviours are, but what's driving them, so what's actually going on. And so in my sessions, what I'll often do is look at through different glasses, looking at how different generations view the world, what are their paradigms. And so that impacts on how a leader manages a team, compensation drivers, office layout, leadership styles. But they're the internal ones. The external implications are to do with marketing, communications. And so, as I've worked with companies like Pepsi or Tupperware, for them...
Oh, now isn't that a great example
yeah.
of trying to attract different generations?
Absolutely.
Pepsi and Tupperware.
Yeah, yep. Marketing to different groups, but also they've got longevity, they've got history. So it's about how do you start to change the way you communicate your message to impact on different groups.
Now let's talk about Gen X because we want to include everybody.
Yeah, and they often feel very overlooked, because they're a much smaller group demographically, but the trend is they're going to be in leadership in the next 5 to 10 years, and I suspect we're going to see some of Gen X exacting retribution on Gen Y.
Really?
Because there's been such a focus on Gen Y, I think Gen X is going to go, it's our turn now. So that'll be a very interesting one to watch.
We can really feel and see your passion for this subject. Where does it come from?
I suppose it started when I started working with students. So I started 7 years ago speaking in high schools to Gen Y, helping them understand older generations, I guess to prepare them for work. And I did that for 3 years and worked with students right around the country. And I guess what I found consistently is this generation, behind the very confident exterior, behind that sort of brash arrogance sometimes, they are so keen to find leadership, boundaries, mentoring, connection with adults. And so my passion is to help older generations make those connections with younger groups because it's what they're looking for. But also the other side of other end of the spectrum is there's something really powerful when older generations learn from the young too. And when you can get an organisation where you've got different generations learning from and being influenced by each other, it's a pretty great environment. I love helping to create that.
Yes, it's certainly true for me. I learn a lot from Gen Y. Michael McQueen, thank you for spending 5 minutes with O.
My pleasure. Thank you.